Ikigai.
How's your bonsai?
Fine.
Susanna and I are going for a walk.
All right.
Are you sure you're all right, William?
Never better. Now that I have time to do the things that I never had time to do. Yes?
William Murdoch,
Yes?
a moment of your time. Lionel Bentley.
William Murdoch. Please, come in.
Lovely home. Unique design, is it your own creation?
Oh, no, it was designed by a man named Frank Lloyd Wright. What is it that I can do for you, Mr. Bentley?
You resigned from the police force.
I did.
So you need a job. I have a job. And it needs to be tended to rather urgently. This could be your new office. Matilda Crisp. She is my ward and she is missing.
Her eyes. Miss Crisp has heterochromia?
Yes. One eye blue, the other dark brown. It's quite striking.
And have you notified the police?
I am doing one better. I am talking to you. I need her found.
I no longer...
I am aware of your current situation. I'm also aware that you are the best detective in the city, possibly the entire country.
Position I no longer hold.
Ridiculous, sir. Whether you hold the position formally or not doesn't mean you're not the best.
This is Mr. Quinton. He works for the Crisp estate. He's also an admirer. He is the one who suggested that I contact you.
You have the mind of Jules Verne and the technical genius of Nikola Tesla.
That's very kind, thank you. But...
In 3 days, Matilda is going to inherit $3 million, and she has gone missing.
And you're interested in her money?
I am interested in her. I have been her guardian since her father died and made her an orphan. It is my duty to find her, and you are my only hope.
I appreciate the offer, gentlemen, but I must refuse. This is no longer my life.
You have to eat.
Thank you. No.
You know you're free to go.
I want my day in court.
If you go to court, you'll go to prison.
Then to prison I go.
At least take some water. Please. You're not going to accomplish anything like this, Watts, except starve yourself to death.
Then my death is on society's hands. What Edwards is doing is wrong. By association, so are you. Wonder what Thomas Brackenreid would think about what's happened to his station.
Tea. Is that the best she's got?
There's not a drop of alcohol in the place. And another thing.
Oh, there usually is.
I don't think your aunt is sick at all.
Then why would she send for me?
She's a lonely old lady who wanted someone to talk to.
She brings me across the Atlantic for conversation.
Thomas, Margaret, I need you.
And to have someone wait on her hand and foot. At least one of us gets to retire. Coming!
I refuse the offer.
Are you sure?
We have travel plans, Julia.
What of the young woman?
I made some inquiries. Apparently, Miss Crisp is something of a free spirit. She's disappeared before. I'm sure she'll return home once she runs out of pocket money.
Well, I received some good news today.
Oh, did you?
The Women's Hospital received a sizable donation from a Mr. Bentley representing the Crisp estate.
That's the gentleman who offered me the position. They're trying to get to me through you.
Do you want me to refuse it?
No, of course not.
Well, William, we need to thank him.
Mr. Bentley is in Mr. Quinton's laboratory.
Mr. Quinton has a laboratory here?
It was Mr. Crisp's. Mr. Quinton has taken it over. He wears many hats, and he is like yourself, a man of science. Just down the hall.
I'm certain that this will be very helpful. I'm really thinking that you've reconsidered.
We're here to thank you for your generous gift.
You saved many women's lives.
Are you impressed?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't.
I'm so pleased. You were the inspiration for so many of these. Actually, the creator of most, if truth be told.
What is this? This is so small. Does it work?
Too well, I'm afraid. Yours only incapacitated people. Sadly, this one remains lethal.
Well, you'll need to recalibrate the voltage regulator. This is much too high. That should do it. What is this for?
That was intended to monitor Miss Crisp, but she left before I could install them. I'm hoping to find some use for them in tracking her down.
And you're certain she'll not return?
She has indulged in flights of fancy before, but never for so long.
Where was she last seen?
I see you there, Constable Crabtree. What is it?
When will Detective Watts have his day in court?
He is not a detective, and the answer is never.
I fear if he stays in jail, he'll die.
That is his choice, not mine.
He deserves to be heard. He's willing to risk prison.
I am not interested. As far as I'm concerned, he can rot in there or leave town. Those are his two choices.
Inspector, this is not the way Inspector Brackenreed or Detective Murdoch would deal with things.
No, they both quit the fight. Anything else?
Yes, plenty. Perhaps better left unsaid for now.
What's in it for me, other than a free piece of pie?
You would be performing an act of humanity.
Not something that sells newspapers.
Look, Watts just wants to have his say. A newspaper article would give him that. I think people would read it.
And I suppose you think my story would be more sympathetic?
I think it could be whatever you want it to be. You could interview him, I could sneak you into the cells. And whether your story's favorable or unfavorable, it would likely accomplish the same thing.
And that is?
It would likely save his life.
You sure this is where Miss Crisp was last seen?
We had a credible sighting down here.
Seems like an odd place for an heiress.
Well, she was an unusual heiress, interested in social causes and the like. I think half her month's stipend went to feeding the poor. These men are setting up your recording devices to see if we can find Miss Crisp's whereabouts. They're at your disposal day or night.
Very good. How is it you know Mr. Bentley?
We both work for the estate. Mr. Crisp hired me just before he tragically passed. Called me his fix-it man.
Fix-it man?
Well, he had a number of industrial concerns, factories and such. I keep them in good order.
Well, that's your technical knowledge.
I picked up a few things over the years, but my accomplishments fade next to yours. And that device will record what the camera films?
Yes.
You are truly an amazing man. It's a shame that you are lost to the constabulary.
They are no longer my constabulary. Shall we?
Sleep it off in here, chum, and I'll let you go.
What did you do wrong, friend? Miss Cherry, why are you here?
To give you a voice.
Perhaps this device will reveal something.
And if it doesn't?
There are 5 more such devices installed. We'll review all of them.
You should have more of these viewers.
Sorry, Mr. Bentley.
Yeah,
I'll get to it.
No matter now.
Last one's a charm.
Let us hope.
Mr. Quinton and I have been talking.
I'm not sure now's the time.
When better? Mr. Murdoch, what if our resources were at your disposal whenever you wanted?
That certainly would have made my job easier. But that is no longer my job.
Well, I am suggesting something new. A new police force with you at its head.
Oh, I don't think that's
We
something
could keep everyone under surveillance. Apprehend people by non-lethal means before they've committed crimes. It could change the world.
Not necessarily for the better. Oh, what's this?
That's her. Good Lord.
She was abducted.
So it would seem.
Over here!
Obviously, they didn't get far.
Certainly looks like the same car.
Look at this. Destroy or be destroyed. There is no middle way.
We demand all money be abolished, along with private ownership. Anarchists.
Good Lord. And they've taken Matilda. What do we do now?
They don't know we're onto them, so we have the element of surprise. I suggest we use it.
It's not there.
What's not there?
I smuggled Louise Cherry into the cells to interview Watts. She was going to write a story about his hunger strike. She didn't.
It's a good thing she didn't. You could have lost your job.
Maybe there are more important things, Henry.
You done with that?
I need to step out. Cover for me.
If the inspector asks.
Tell him I'm not arresting vagrants or burning witches.
Constable, do we pay you to read the newspaper?
No, sir.
On your feet. Stalls need mucking out.
Would you mind letting us in on what you are doing here?
We know approximately where Miss Crisp was taken. I'm attempting to determine the precise location.
With the aerial camera.
Not just the aerial camera. Attached to it is a device that uses a Wheatstone bridge.
It measures heat.
Not exactly, but close enough. I propose we fly the aerial camera over the area where Miss Crisp was taken. If there are people there, this will tell us precisely where.
Brilliant.
Please don't encourage him.
Are you ready, Doctor?
Indeed, I am.
I submitted the story. My editor chose not to publish it.
I don't believe you.
Believe whatever you want. I'm telling the truth.
I'm sure in the past you've managed to get things published without the approval of your editor.
If I pushed it through, I would have been fired, George. And then you'd have no ally at all.
What are you doing?
Just seeing how you were faring.
My commitment to this is being sorely tested.
You can stop at any time.
No, I can't.
But you still haven't eaten anything. Take some water.
It tastes strange.
You've had a week without any food. Everything is going to taste strange.
With the bolometer attached to the aerial device, we'll be able to detect any infrared light.
Which can be created by heat.
Exactly. Now, the only heat source inside these buildings will be human bodies. If Miss Crisp and her captors are inside, we'll find them.
Mr. Bentley was right.
I beg your pardon?
But with our resources and your mind, we could create a detective agency that would leave the Pinkertons in the dust. We'd be the envy of the Scotland Yard.
And then Sybil said to me, well, I never said that.
But she did?
Of course she did. She just as well called me a liar. And we used to be such dear friends. So here I am now, left all alone with no one. Except for my dear nephew, isn't that right?
That's right.
You're having another?
I am.
Oh, Thomas, that is at least 3 this evening. If you don't watch yourself, you will get the gout.
I will not get the gout.
You never know. Sybil got the gout once. Too much red meat and alcohol. She was a terrible pain. Well, at least she deserved it. Did I tell you what she said to me?
So Louise Cherry refused to print the article.
I suppose I can't expect her to do what we're unprepared to do.
What's that?
Lose our jobs.
Constable Crabtree, were you aware the vagrant you brought in was a member of the press?
I was not.
I was informed by the city editor of the Toronto Telegraph that one of his reporters entered the cells under flimsy disguise.
That was Louise Cherry? I thought it was a vagrant.
Did you know? But you knew the reporter's name. Interesting.
A good guess, I suppose.
You have one job, Constable. Enforce the law to the letter. If you are uncomfortable with that, you can join your Detective Murdoch. Which would be a shame, considering you have a new house to pay for.
George.
None of this will be happening if the inspector or the detective were here.
Well, they're not. There's nothing we can do. Unless...
Unless what?
Well, I happen to know that Thaddeus Monk of the Board of Control holds a clay pigeon shoot every second Sunday of the month.
What? Why are you telling me this, Henry?
Well, the gathering is in direct violation of the Sunday Observance Act. You heard what Edward said.
Enforce the law.
To the letter.
Henry, you're a man of many surprises.
They all have guns.
Yes, Higgins, I would think that door girl for an event of such nature.
Yes, but we don't.
Well, we have force of law on our side. All right, now's as good a time as any.
You did hear me when I said they have guns?
Launch the bird. Another. This sighting is off.
Toronto Constabulary, what's going on here?
Engaging in a little sport. Nothing more.
A great deal more, I would say. You're contravening the Sunday Observance Act.
On private land.
Accessible by the public in free view of anyone to see.
Oh, now see here, this
Look, I am here on orders to arrest anybody doing anything illegal. Now, you'll put these guns down, you're coming with me to the station
Now,
house.
this is an outrage.
An additional charge. Threatening a police officer with a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. Good thinking, Henry. Now, give me this. Let's move.
You will pay for this, Constable.
You can take that up with my superiors. I'm following orders.
Let's go.
Come along.
Your husband is a very clever man.
He is indeed. You'll notice I'm the one outside while he's enjoying the warmth.
Oh. I have a reading. Right. Assemble your men and bring my weapon.
No guns?
No guns. We can't risk harming Miss Crisp. Restrain him. The rest of you with me. Wait! Wait! Stop!
Oh, dear.
Nice work.
Let go of me. Who are you?
Detective William Murdoch.
What is the meaning of this? Why are you trying to hurt my friends?
Your friends?
We've done nothing wrong, except practice our right to free assembly.
You're with these people?
We are the Ontario Rebellion, and I am a proud member of this collective.
Oh, well, your guardian is concerned about you.
My guardian is only concerned with my inheritance. He cares nothing of me. Now let me go, or despite my distaste of the police, I will happily have you arrested.
What do you think is going on here?
I have no idea. But I intend to find out.
Impossible.
Miss Crisp told me this herself. She's with these people willingly.
She always seemed flighty, but I never thought she would join anarchists.
Well, now that Miss Crisp has been located, I believe my assignment is finished.
But what about this anarchist group?
I don't know what you would like me to do about them.
Are they dangerous? Do you think Matilda might get hurt?
Oh, I don't know. But I do think you should contact the authorities about the group, regardless of Miss Crisp's involvement.
Perhaps you're right.
I did an inspection of the location that Miss Crisp was being held in. I believe the group is holding an event of some kind. I'll have all of the intelligence that I gathered packed up and delivered to you.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. I'll have a check covering your fees drawn up and delivered to your home.
Thank you.
Which one of you imbeciles is going to tell me what is going on?
We were just following orders, sir.
What?
Mr. Monk was having a gathering with the express interest of shooting on a Sunday, no less. There was alcohol present. We were threatened.
Enough! I know what's going on here. You think me a fool? I know your little plan. You want to arrest my superiors under the broad definition of the plan to clean up Toronto, so I look like a petty tyrant.
If that happens to be the outcome, I heard it.
Crabtree, shut your mouth. Go down to the cells and release all the people arrested at Mr. Monk's. There will be no record of the arrests. Are we clear?
Sir.
Good. I found this floating around in the gutter. Take a few men and clear them out.
William? I thought you were finished with all of this.
I am. Something is bothering me. Miss Crisp maintains that she is a member of this anarchist organization. But look, right here, it appears as though they are abducting her.
Is she lying?
I don't know.
Oh, wait, William, look, on the brick wall.
Look. That looks like a bullet striking. Was someone shooting at her?
Perhaps these anarchists weren't abducting her. They were saving her.
From whom? What's this about?
You'll see.
The capitalists say that money comes from hard work and industry. That if you do not have money, you are lazy or stupid or both. That is a lie. For many of them, wealth falls from the sky, or it is a provenance of birth. It is not earned. It is not deserved.
All right, lads, we'll round them up, take them to the station. No violence. You heard me.
I don't give a hang what you say.
Today, I turn 21 years old, and today, I am a millionaire, an undeserving one. Now's the time. I did not earn it, I do not deserve it, and I don't want it. It is the hunger for this that turns man against man, and it should have no dominion over us. nothing.
All right, that's enough. Clear out. Please, clear out. This way.
George, no.
I'll show you how it's done.
Let's go, man! No, wait!
Do you not resist? Let them arrest you!
Get out of here!
Miss Crisp, we're getting you out of here. George.
Sir?
Let us pass.
I thought you were done with all of this.
I thought so as well.
Who shot at me?
I was hoping you might be able to tell me.
The anarchists are my friends. They would never betray me.
Sometimes $1 million can make people betray their friends.
Not these people.
Who might benefit from your demise?
My inheritance would go to some distant family relative, I suppose, or Mr. Bentley if he found a way to keep it.
Susanna!
It's never brought me much happiness. She can keep it.
Wait a minute. This money's counterfeit.
What do you mean?
This is fake? All of it? Miss Crisp, have you had a change of heart?
No, I took it out of the bank myself. How could it be fake?
I assure you, the money we released to Miss Crisp was not counterfeit.
Did you notice anything unusual when Miss Crisp picked up her money? Oh, I am acting on behalf of Miss Crisp. Her life may be in danger.
I forgot to get her initials on the final withdrawal slip when I followed her out onto the streets. She was getting into an auto with a gentleman.
What did he look like?
Strange fellow. Tall. With an eye patch.
Well, that's odd. Anything else?
This morning, Miss Crisp sent word to transfer all her remaining funds to an account at the Overlea Bank in Switzerland.
All of it? Why would she do that?
I don't know.
Right. Thank you.
You two seen the paper?
No, sir.
You think the news of an anarchist burning $1 million on the street would warrant some attention? Instead, look at this.
City fathers in Sunday raids, top officials thrown in jail. I suppose sometimes, Inspector, people are more interested in scandal than news.
They're not in the cells anymore, sir.
That doesn't matter. Now, the story's out.
Perhaps Miss Cherry could write a follow-up article.
Oh, I've called and made sure she is fired from the newspaper. But the damage is done nonetheless.
Surely it's not that bad.
She outlines all of it. The raids, the deportations out of Toronto. She even wrote about Watts.
Well, you know, Inspector, you can't stop the truth from coming out.
All the raids and arrests stop, as of now. Clear the ragtags out of the cells, including Watts.
Certainly, sir.
I hold you accountable for this, Crabtree.
I want my day in court.
That's not forthcoming. Watch, if you don't leave this time, I'll have the lads throw you out.
This isn't right.
At least you won't be forced to leave Toronto.
Oh, hardly a victory.
I'm sorry.
You know why I won't get my day in court? Because intelligent, moral people will know that I am right and the law is wrong.
I made the decision on my own accord. That and the fact that the paper had already been put to bed before I could file the anarchist story.
I feel guilty.
I'm a woman who knows her own mind. It was my choice, and it was the correct one.
I should be getting home.
How's life at the police force, George?
Oh, bowl of cherries.
Why did they transfer the money to Switzerland? Did Matilda request that?
I don't believe she did.
Well, it certainly wasn't me, if that's what you're implying.
What are the conditions of the inheritance?
It went to Matilda. If anything happened to her, it would go to her father, but he died, so...
Where's Mr. Quinton? I'd like to have a word with him.
Mr. Quinton? Why?
I believe he has something to do with this.
You're a very clever man. Didn't I tell you he was a clever man?
I hardly knew what was happening before they were punching me. I did manage to get one of them right in the eye, though.
Good for you, Henry.
Any idea who they could have been?
I was completely blindsided.
You? What do you want? Recognize me? I gave you that last night.
I don't think so. I caught my wife with a fellow last night.
Cut it. I know it was you.
Was it Edwards? Did Edwards tell you to rough up Higgins here?
Tell us now.
Tell us the truth. Maybe I won't share this with the rest of the station house.
I didn't want to. Edwards made us.
Higgins? This has gone on long enough. Come with me. Excuse us, Mr. Banks. A moment of your time?
Make this quick, gentlemen. My duck's about to be brought out.
It's about Inspector Edwards.
I didn't think everyone at Station House 4 would have such a problem with Inspector Edwards, to be honest.
All we do there now is arrest anyone who doesn't conform to the inspector's idea of what constitutes moral behavior.
Well said, Henry.
Edwards' highest concern is the safety of the people of Toronto.
We have a constable who's willing to testify that Edwards sent men onto us last night, had us beaten as some sort of warning. What that has to do with the safety of the people of Toronto, we'll never know.
Edwards is a good man. This looks like petty constabulary infighting. I have no time for it. Where is that waiter?
How can a man claim he despises immorality when he himself indulges in it?
That's quite enough.
And speaking of indulging in immorality...
Do you mind?
Speaking of indulging in immorality, you might want to consider those who benefit from it.
Yeah, Henry, that's an excellent. Have you changed your diet or something? Had more coffee? Have you begun to read?
What do you mean, those who benefit?
Well, I'll wager that you know people who own gambling parlors, vaudeville reviews, even brothels.
That's right. I imagine their profit stream will dry up rather quickly, and they'll know you're the man who turned off the tap.
Mr. Quinton, put down that weapon.
I don't think he has any intention of doing that.
Can someone please tell me what's going on here?
How did you injure your eye, sir?
It took you a little longer than I thought.
Mr. Quinton wasn't hired by the late Mr. Crisp. He is Mr. Crisp, Matilda's father.
Very good.
You would kill your own daughter for her inheritance?
Well, the money was her mother's. My wife hated me, so she left it all to Matilda.
Well, now Matilda is safe, where you can't harm her.
Good work, Mr. Murdoch.
Julia, Miss Crisp.
Well, you've worked it all out. Except for one thing. It's disappointing.
Isn't it? I thought we'd been rumbled. But you missed something, Murdoch.
You two are obviously working together.
Why? Why set all of this up?
Matilda still has the money. There's no need for this.
Not everything's about money, you grubby little man.
That's right, Papa.
What about the anarchists? And the gunshot at the money burning?
All for fun. All to see if you could figure out what was really happening.
Why?
Well, you and your husband's exploits are legendary. We wanted to see if you were up for the task.
What task?
Well, you'll find out soon enough.
I don't know what sort of game the two of you are playing, but I can assure you we want no part of it.
Game? Oh, this isn't a game.
Just let us go.
I had enough of this. Goodbye.
That's fine, Mr. Bentley. Your services are no longer required.
I suppose I forgot to readjust the voltage.
You look serious. Maybe our chat with Banks actually made a difference.
I'll get right to it. It's becoming increasingly clear, Edwards, that you are unfit for this position.
You said I was doing an excellent job cleaning up the streets.
You carry on the way you've been going, you will have emptied out half of Toronto.
But, sir...
That's enough. You're dismissed, Edwards. Clean out your desk. Constable Crabtree, I've been asking around about you.
You have, sir?
Yes, and I've learned you are an intelligent constable with a good head on your shoulders.
I try.
This station house needs a new interim inspector. I've been speaking to the chief constable, and we are in agreement that Given the circumstances, the position, if you want it, is yours.
Mine?
You begin immediately.
But what exactly do I get out of this? You get to arrest him for assault.
Llewellyn, you're out of jail.
Indeed. And it appears Inspector Edwards has been deposed.
Oh, perhaps life will get back to normal.
Miss Hart, before Dr. Ogden took you on, you were a vital amine supplier, were you not?
Amongst other things, yes.
Yes. You put that solution in my water. Please, don't lie to me.
I didn't want you to starve.
Yes, what I do is my decision.
Well, it was a foolish one. I shouldn't have tricked you, and I'm sorry. But making yourself ill or worse for your cause won't help.
You couldn't just go quietly. I had to take a stand.
But starving yourself in a jail cell won't get your message out. Your voice is what matters. You need to keep yourself alive to use it.
You've got a point. And I could dearly use a meal. Will you join me?
Of course.
Please, we have a child at home.
As long as you cooperate, your child will remain safe.
Answer me a question, Detective Murdoch. What just happened here?
The two of you orchestrated this entire thing. The abduction, the flirtation with the anarchists, the transfer to Switzerland, all clues for us to find.
Very good.
I ask you again, why?
There's something we need you to do. And we need people who possess your cleverness to accomplish it.
And if we don't?
Then your daughter is an orphan.
No, you can't.
No. You'll be needing your rest.
You wanted to talk to me?
Yes, I did.
Day off, George?
No, new job. I'm currently the inspector of Station House 4.
Ah, very good. Oh.
Well, don't be so surprised. In any case, I thought my first crack at official business as inspector would be to offer you your job back.
Despite who I am.
No, what? Because of who you are.
Then I will take it.
Excellent, then. Well, I hate to be brief, but there's somebody else I need to speak to.
Anything I should get started on, Inspector?
There is, in fact. I almost forgot.
Oh.
Oh. Sir? Sir? Oh, Bethany.
Constable.
It's not Constable, actually. It's, well, it's not important. Are the doctor or the detective about?
No, and it won't be for some time, it appears.
What do you mean?
Well, they plan on being away for a while. They've left me with instructions to care for Susanna until their return.
Bethany, Julia and I will be traveling for the next month. Please take good care of Susanna. There are ample funds in my desk drawer.
It's not him.
What?
Take care of my child. There's money in the drawer. The detective didn't write. It's not his handwriting.
Good Lord. Where do you think they are?
Where are we?
I don't know.
Are we moving? Help! Help!
Julia, save your strength. My guess is whoever put us in here doesn't care much to help us.
Is the inspector there? Thomas, is your nephew Thomas there? Right, can you tell him that George Crabtree called? It's very important. Tell him the detective and his wife have gone missing. I don't know where they are. I need his help. Thank you.
Hello, Julia. Afternoon, Dr. Garland.
No need for formalities, Detective. Please, call me Darcy.
Yes, of course.
Well, a delightful event. Country fair in the midst of a metropolis. We just saw a horse pull.
Please, Darcy, you make it sound like a city of ruse.
On the contrary, I find Toronto a splendidly modern city.
What are you looking at so intensely, William? Doll houses?
It's more than that, Julia. It's a miniature Toronto streetscape. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before.
It's won first prize.
Deservedly. It's the most intriguing model.
The faces of the people have no features. How curious.
The builder seems more interested in the homes than the people who live in them.
Julia, have a look at this.
Attention to detail is quite remarkable.
That's more than remarkable. Look.
Good heavens.
What is it?
The figure in that room has a rifle. I believe we're looking at a crime scene. The model was submitted by a Bert Howland of Cherry Lane, according to the fair's organizers.
Sir, where shall I put these little figures?
I believe they were at the end of the street here, George.
So there's someone holding a gun. What makes you think that anyone was shot in that room?
Consider the accuracy of scale, the attention to detail.
I'll give you that.
The builder put a gunman in that upstairs room for a reason.
Maybe this Bert Howland fellow was having a bit of fun.
An odd joke, if that's the case, sir.
Piece of fiction, Murdoch. Don't you have a real live case to work on?
Morning.
Don't you walk away from me. And where do you think you're going now?
You know where I'm going.
You go for lunch every day. Don't worry about me.
The similarity to the model, sir, it's uncanny.
It is indeed, George. We're about to meet a very skilled craftsman.
I believe Mr. Howland lives in number 6 here.
Mr. Howland.
Yeah.
Detective William Murdoch, Toronto Constabulary.
Was it you that confiscated the model?
Yes. Excellent craftsmanship. A fine replica of your street here.
May I ask why you saw fit to take it to the station?
A detail was added to the model that I find most curious. A man holding a rifle.
A rifle? You sure?
Yes, yes. In the upstairs window of your neighbor's house. Mr. Howland, if I may, what was your intention in building the model?
I didn't build it. That's my sister, Lydia.
Ah, may I speak with her then?
I expect her any time. But that's puzzling. I don't recall her adding any man with a rifle. Detective Murdoch, this is my sister.
Hello?
Don't mind her. She won't answer you.
Is she deaf?
No. She's feeble-minded.
Feeble-minded?
There's other things that she's called, but that's what it comes down to.
Yet she's capable of building such an intricate model. Did you help her?
I grabbed the wood and such, but she works by herself.
When did she begin to build the model?
About a year ago. Detective.
Lydia, I'm a policeman, and I need your help.
Don't get too near her now.
Do you recall building the model of your street?
You don't want her upset.
Do you remember, Lydia?
It's okay, William. It's okay. Let's go inside. Come inside. Come inside. It's okay. Come inside.
I'm sorry if my questions disturbed her.
Lydia has her own ways. She doesn't like people much. Excuse me, I need to see her.
George, begin canvassing the neighbors. Find out if anyone knows anything about a shooting at number 7.
Sir.
A shooting? In my house? Oh, now you're just pulling my leg, detective.
Mrs. Galbraith, Lydia Howland built a model of this street and put a man holding a gun in your upstairs room.
Lydia did that, did she?
Yes. Do you own a gun, Mrs. Galbraith?
My hubby, Mr. Galbraith, does.
A rifle?
Yes. Though it's not been fired in years.
I'll need to speak with him.
He's practicing at the lodge.
Practicing?
He plays the trombone in the Orange Lodge band.
Ah, well, I'll need to speak with him.
About a fictitious gunman? Lydia is not in her right mind, detective. I'm not saying Bert isn't trying his best, but his wife left him. It's your sister or it's me, she told him, and frankly, I don't blame her. A daft girl should be in one of those institutions.
Thank you, Mrs. Galbraith. What have you, George?
Well, sir, I've spoken to several people. Mr. Caruso lives in number 5 with his wife. He's very particular about his peach tree, which I find suspicious in itself. Peach tree is very difficult to care for in our climate.
George, carry on.
The Carusos haven't heard any gunshots, sir.
Who lives in number 3?
That would be Felix Roach, a bachelor. He repairs furniture. The Draper family lives in number 2, and there was no answer in number 4. But it seems like a very close community, sir. Everybody's very trusting. Nobody locks their doors. Nobody knows anything about a shooting.
Mr. Galbraith at number 7 does own a rifle.
So do a lot of people, Murdoch.
I checked the police records. There's no report of any shooting at 7 Cherry Lane.
I find it very hard to believe that such a precise model was built by an imbecile.
Ooh, sir. I believe people such as Lydia are no longer referred to as imbecile. It's felt to be demeaning. The correct term nowadays is moron.
Oh.
Well, I'm not sure either term fits in this particular instance.
Isn't it likely that she invented this gunman character? Someone would have heard a gunshot on such a small street as Cherry Lane. Just return it to its rightful owner, Murdoch, and get on with some proper police work.
Yes, sir.
I'll pack it up, sir.
Just a moment, George.
What are you looking at, sir?
The figure holding the gun, George. He seems disproportionate compared to the other people on the street.
Why would that be?
Let's pay another visit to Cherry Lane, and we'll need to access the armory.
Yes, sir.
Right, move further back, George. Counterclockwise. Now left. Your other left, George. Figure in the model is completely different, much smaller. George, please ask Mrs. Galbraith to grace us with her presence.
Sir. So, right here, Mrs. Galbraith?
Yes. I moved the mirror a month or so ago. What of it?
We appreciate your help, Mrs. Galbraith.
Well, just remember you're carrying it back downstairs before you leave.
So, sir, how did you know there was a mirror in the room?
It's the only logical explanation for the small man, George. Lydia saw the shooter reflected in the mirror.
Why would that make him small?
Well, George, the apparent distance of a reflected object is always greater when seen through a mirror. Lydia was across the street. Therefore, the reflected object she saw, in this case the shooter, appeared smaller.
So then, sir, if she saw the reflection of the shooter, that means he was not actually standing here at the far side of the room, but rather over here, hidden from the street.
Yes, George. Raise the rifle, if you would, please.
Oh, but then the angle is wrong.
Completely wrong.
Sir, if Lydia depicted the back of the shooter, he would be more like...
Exactly. That's it, George. Don't move a muscle. The putty around this pane is a different color.
So this pane has been replaced.
Let's see if the owner can shed some light on the situation.
I don't know anything about a broken window, detective.
How long have you resided here, Mrs. Gordon?
8 months.
And who lived here previously?
It used to be a boarding house.
And do you know who the previous owners were?
Yes, she lives across the street.
Oh, which house?
Number 5. She married Mr. Caruso? He's Italian. A fruit peddler. Wooed his wife with his peaches, so the neighbors say.
May we come inside, Mrs. Gordon?
So, if the bullet traveled without interference, this would be the trajectory.
But, sir, what if the bullet entered the victim and struck bone? Would that not change the path of the bullet?
Well, yes, George.
Like, say, this. Or, sir, quite conceivably, even, that.
Yes, conceivably, George.
Assuming that there even was a victim, sir.
But if it missed its intended target...
Sir, if I may, what if the bullet entered the victim and lodged there? It would still be inside him. Or her.
Yes, George, but if it missed its target...
Or went through a soft, fleshy part of the poor devil.
And I might find it...
I suppose it could have missed the breastbone, exiting between ribs. Or even, sir, if he was sitting next to the window, perhaps in through one temple and straight out through the other. I suppose, then, there would be an off chance that the bullet would end up...
Here.
A slug from a rifle.
George, go to number 7 and collect Mr. Galbraith's rifle.
Yes, sir. That's not a sound you'd forget in a hurry, sir.
No. Yet everyone on Cherry Lane claims they didn't hear the sound of a gunshot. We have a match.
So Mr. Galbraith's rifle fired the shot?
Yes, George, but we still need evidence of foul play.
But, sir, if Mrs. Gordon is telling the truth, then that bullet has been in the wall for the last 8 months. I can't imagine we'll find any evidence on it.
Well, perhaps what is hidden to us, a little science can reveal.
I suppose this is the science, sir?
Yes, George, it's part of it, a chemical. 5-nitrothol hydrazide. In this case, it's reduced to an amino group with sodium dithionite. Now, the chemical lies dormant until it's activated again. In this case, with an oxidant. Making chemi-phosphoroluminescence.
And I suppose we're looking for traces of blood, sir.
Indeed, George. Now, this compound was recently synthesized, but I managed to acquire a small sample. Now, if any chemical traces of blood remain, the solution will react with the iron in the hemoglobin.
The hemoglobin. Sir, this bullet went through somebody.
Yes, George. But the question is, whom? Mr. Galbraith, we found a bullet fired from your rifle with blood on it.
Where?
Across the street from your house.
I don't know anything about that. My wife had no business giving my gun to you.
Your rifle may have been used as a murder weapon, Mr. Galbraith. How do you explain that?
I have never fired the thing, not once.
I find that difficult to believe, sir.
It belonged to my father. It was his hunting rifle. Ask anyone on the street. Partial to rabbit stew, he was.
In this case, the victim may have been human.
Well, tell me then. Who did I kill? When did I do it, and why?
The man has a point. You don't have a timeline, you don't have a motive, and apart from a rifle slug with a modicum of blood on it, you don't even have proof that a crime was even committed. You need a body, Murdoch.
Sirs, have a look at this. There's a darker patch of earth right here. If that represents freshly turned soil, it could be great.
What's the logic of that?
Well, sir, if Lydia saw the shooting take place, perhaps she also saw the body being buried.
Excellent reasoning, George.
Thank you, sir. I'll fetch a shovel. It's a body, all right.
Looks like a...
What are you doing with my cat?
Calm yourself, Mr. Roach. We're just continuing our investigation.
He lived to a ripe old age, and he deserves his rest.
I wonder. George!
Sir.
Have a look at this.
It's unbelievable.
Her attention to minutiae is staggering.
Well, perhaps, sir, she's just fond of cats. She's childlike in some regards. Perhaps she has an affinity toward animals. They can't speak either. Doctor.
Constable? So, you discovered a murder took place on your model street after all.
Yes, I've determined a murder weapon and a vague timeline, but no body.
That's inconvenient. Did you find out who built this?
Yes, the model was built by a young woman named Lydia Howland. Feeble-minded, it's believed. Yet she's capable of extraordinary skill and focus, as you can see.
I heard of such a case while I was at the children's hospital. I wonder if your Lydia is an idiot savant. She's deficient, yet possesses one area of brilliance.
Really?
Could explain why her figures have no features.
How do you mean?
I've been haunted by these blank faces. Now I understand. She can't read emotion. Human faces cause her great confusion, so she simply ignores them. You and I communicate with eye contact, but Lydia can't do that.
Thank you very much, Julia. This has been very helpful. Clearly, I went about my first meeting with Lydia all wrong.
And you think that she witnessed a murder?
Yes, but I have no body.
Well, I'll start searching for unidentified shooting victims in the morgue records.
Thank you. I'll try to narrow my timeline. Sir, the shooting occurred before the Gordons bought the former boarding house at number 4.
Assuming Mrs. Gordon was telling the truth.
Well, I checked with city records, sir. Mrs. Crusoe did sell the house 8 months ago.
We need to determine which boarders left without notice prior to that date.
Looking for wayward boarding house tenants. Now there's a bloody needle in a haystack.
George, check with Mrs. Caruso. See if she has a good memory of past boarders.
Sir, will do.
Oh, and sir, I'm bringing Lydia down to the station.
What for? She can't tell you anything.
Perhaps she can communicate in other ways.
Our small street is the only world she knows.
Without any features on the figures, how does she know who belongs where?
She has an order in her head. Maybe it's the way she dresses each one. I don't know.
Do your neighbors know how talented your sister is?
They ignore her at best. Some complain of her walking up and down the street. But God knows she doesn't disturb anyone. She hasn't talked in 25 years.
She spoke as a child?
Yeah, she seemed normal for the first year or so, apparently, and then she gradually withdrew. She hasn't uttered a word since. No doctor could provide an explanation, and my parents went to their graves not knowing what was wrong.
When did she add the detail of the gunman to the model?
I don't know. I never noticed the figure until you showed me. And it just shocks me to think that image was in her head. It's all right, my dear. It's all right. It's all right, my dear. It's all right. It's all right. Let's pick up these chess pieces. It's all right. It's all right. Let's pick these up. That's it. Let's pick up these chess pieces. That's it. You see? There you go, Lydia. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. That's it. She likes simple tasks. They calm her. That's it.
That's extraordinary. She's putting back every piece as it was.
Yeah, she has excellent recall.
She memorized the game.
That's it.
It's clear that Lydia is very sensitive to sudden, loud noises.
Like the gunshot?
Yes. I believe the gunshot so traumatized her that when she made the model, she recreated the shooting exactly how she saw the street at that moment.
Even though she didn't understand the meaning of the sound?
That's correct.
So now what? She'll build a model of the station house at the exact moment that the two clumsy constables bumped into one another?
Oh, I don't think so, sir. Bert was there to calm her and distract her with the chess pieces. When the shooting occurred, she was all alone.
Making the event an even greater trauma.
I believe so.
I still can't fathom Lydia building this by herself.
Well, sir, it's not without precedent. Have a look at this.
That's bloody impressive.
This model was built by James Henry Poland, a man believed to be an imbecile who couldn't hear or speak. He built it while living in an English insane asylum.
And you think Lydia has the same ability?
So it would seem, sir.
Can you tap into what she's thinking?
I don't know if anyone can do that, sir.
Well, if your theory's correct, Murdoch, there may be clues within the model that you haven't yet seen.
What are you all looking at?
Mrs. Crusoe was very helpful, sir. I have a list of all the tenants who left the boarding house without notice. Sir! Sir!
Yes, George.
I'm afraid there are 7 of them, sir. The inspector is right. Tracking them all down will be next to
Did any of them leave on or around June 22nd, 1897?
It's a very specific date, sir. May I ask why?
George, when was the last time there was bunting in the streets of Toronto?
I suppose that would be Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee.
Did anyone leave the boarding house around June 22nd?
Yes, sir. A Grant Abrams.
I remember it like it was yesterday. All of us gathered at the end of the street to watch the parade. All except the anti-royalist Abrams. He was miserable to the core. He stayed behind in his room.
And when did you discover he had gone?
He left that night. Broke a window and stole a carpet.
A carpet?
Yes, a good one.
Did you see the broken window that night?
No, it was the next morning. It was shattered glass everywhere.
Do you know of anyone who may have wanted to harm him?
Well, Abrams did odd jobs for Mrs. Galbraith in number 7 when Mr. Galbraith was at work. Now, I can't say exactly what those jobs were, Detective. But when Mr. Galbraith found out there was a real set-to between the men right in the middle of the street.
What it is?
I was just talking to the detective, Angelo.
Talk, but not a gossip, huh?
I don't think the Galbraiths have the best marriage.
Mr. Galbraith, I now believe the murder victim on Cherry Lane is a man named Grant Abrams, a man you had reason to kill.
Don't be ridiculous.
You deny he had designs on your wife?
Designs on her? No, he had his hands on her. I saw it with my own eyes.
Well, how did you respond?
I beat him soundly. Cuffed him good and proper right in the street.
But you continued to harbor resentment toward him.
Any man would, Detective.
Let's talk about Jubilee Day and the parade.
Jubilee Day?
Yes. The Jubilee parade went by Cherry Lane, did it not?
Yes.
And everyone gathered at the end of the street to watch the parade. Everyone but Abrams.
Well, the lecturer made no secret of his disliking the monarchy.
You knew he wouldn't be watching the parade.
What are you getting at?
While everyone was distracted by the festivities, you returned to your house.
Begging your pardon, Detective.
And shot Abrams with your hunting rifle.
You're right. I wasn't watching the parade.
Just as I suspected.
I play in the Orange Lodge band, Detective. I was in the parade.
I remember the Orange Lodge parade on Jubilee Day. They marched down Queen Street for 3 solid hours. The only thing that Galbraith was murdering that day was the Maple Leaf Forever.
Good one, sir. Trumpet? That's interesting. According to his wife, Galbraith played the trombone.
Trumpet, trombone, triangle. Either way, he didn't fire the rifle, so who did?
Likely another one of the Cherry Lane residents who knew Galbraith had the gun.
And used the vantage point of the Galbraith's house to shoot Abrams.
Sir, I believe the murder was meant to coincide with the parade.
I checked into the parade route, sir. It went along Queen Street East, passing the end of Cherry Lane between 4 o'clock and 4:25 p.m.
But if everyone was together watching the parade, will they all provide alibis for each other?
Time to have a chat with the neighbors.
Yes, we were all at the end of the street except for Lydia.
Did she stay at the house?
She was sitting in her usual spot on the porch. The commotion was overwhelming for her.
Did you know Grant Abrams, Mr. Howland?
We all knew Abrams.
Why is that?
He was a troubled man who took pleasure in finding fault in everyone. And then we all seemed to annoy him.
In what way?
Mr. Galbraith played his trombone too loudly. Mr. Roach's cat sat on his windowsill too often. Mr. Caruso parked his fruit cart all wrong.
Did you argue with Abrams?
He didn't like Lydia walking past his window.
So you fought?
More than once. So, if it's suspects you're looking for, I'd be on that list.
Did anyone else have reason to dislike Abrams?
Do you know about him and Mrs. Galbraith?
I do. What about it?
Well, after Mr. Galbraith found out, Abrams turned his affections to Mrs. Draper, and Mrs. Galbraith was none too happy about that.
Yes, Mr. Abrams did take a shine to Mrs. Draper. Such a bird-like creature with a nervous disposition. I never understood the attraction.
But you felt spurned.
My personal feelings are no business of the Toronto Constabulary.
They are when I'm investigating a murder, Mrs. Galbraith. Now, where were you the afternoon of Jubilee Day?
What are you suggesting? I was watching my husband in the Orange Lodge band like everyone else.
Who saw you?
Just about everyone. If you're looking for a killer, you should talk to Mr. Draper.
Why is that?
He was very upset with Mr. Abrams. He's very protective of his little wife.
And were the Drapers at the parade?
Yes. Oh, as I recall...
Abrams was a cruel man. He relished in upsetting Mrs. Draper with his lewd taunts.
So you disliked Abrams?
Couldn't stand the man.
Enough to kill him?
God, no. It wasn't me. I've never used a gun in my life.
Well, someone shot Mr. Abrams, Mr. Draper.
Look at Mr. Caruso at number 5. He had good reason to kill Abrams.
Oh, why do you say that?
Well, it all started when Abrams teased Caruso, stealing peaches from his tree. Caruso almost stabbed him with his pruning shears, then the shed went up in flames. He almost lost his whole house.
When did this happen?
Well, the feud escalated over time. The fire was last June.
Abrams a rude man. Disrespectful of my property.
So you attacked him?
I tell him, stop. He laugh. He lucky I no stab him in his heart.
Did Mr. Abrams burn down your shed?
Manage. Who else do? Huh?
Where were you at 4 p.m. on Jubilee Day?
I was watching the parade.
Who saw you?
I think Mr. Roach stand with me. I'm not sure.
Well, why are you asking about Mr. Caruso? He's a good man. Was he watching the parade? Oh, yes, he was there. What can you tell me about Grant Abrams? He was a man who didn't work enough, so he would just sit in his window and argue with everyone. He picked on the weak. Did you have a problem with him? Me? Oh, no, I had no personal grievance, but I was glad when he left. Why? I don't like my neighbors upset, Detective, and that's exactly what he did. He upset everyone. He turned our street upside down. All of the residents of Cherry Lane were watching the Jubilee Day parade. All of them vouched for each other, and most of them had motive to kill Abrams.
A close-knit community with no shortage of motives. Have you thought that this could be a conspiracy, Murdoch? Every one of them getting together to rid the streets of Abrams.
I have given that some thought, sir.
Which would explain why no one heard the shot or saw the body removed. They're all bloody well in on it. Sirs.
What is it, George?
8 people claim they were watching the parade that day. Mrs. Galbraith, Mr. and Mrs. Caruso, Felix Roach, Bert Howland, Mr. Draper with his wife and son.
We know that, Crabtree. What's your point?
Well, look at the model, sir. There are only 7 figures at the end of the street. If Lydia is as precise as we think she is, that means one of the residents of Cherry Lane wasn't watching the parade.
Which means the missing person is the gunman. Or woman.
But who was it? Julia, I've reached an impasse in this case. Yet I'm certain that Lydia holds the key to solving it.
But you can't communicate with her.
No, and that's the frustration. I believe she sees the world differently than the rest of us.
She does?
Some areas of her mind are sharply focused, while others don't seem to function at all.
Because idiot savants are oblivious to other people, they're quite single-minded, and therefore capable of extraordinary accomplishments.
That describes Lydia exactly. A mysterious combination of emotional unawareness and acute intellect.
That's a good description of someone I know.
How can I communicate across such a void?
What about using the world she created? Did Lydia put herself in her model?
No. No, I don't believe she did.
It's interesting. She has no concept of self.
Julia, I think you've hit on something.
Darcy.
Hello? Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, not at all. I was just leaving. Good night.
I hope our discussion was fruitful.
Good night. This is Cherry Lane on the day of the Jubilee Parade. A street you know very well. This is Lydia. Lydia lives here. Yes? There. Lydia is home. But who are the other people and where do they live? I think that this is Bert. Bert lives here with Lydia. All right, that's not Bert. This looks like a young lad. I think this is Tommy Draper. Tommy lives here. Right. Maybe this is Bert. Hmm? Mr. Draper. Mr. Draper. George, please, if you would. Then maybe this is Bert. Now, Bert is home. Mrs. Draper. George, Mrs. Galbraith. Mrs. Draper. Mrs. Caruso. Mrs. Draper, then. Mrs. Draper. This must be Felix Roach. Mr. Caruso.
Felix Roach.
The only person on the street with no motive.
What if this is all some kind of a game, Murdoch?
Sir, I don't think Lydia understands the concept of games.
Even if she's right, and Roach is the murderer, we can't arrest him without evidence, Murdoch. You need hard facts, not some airy-fairy theory based on a woman who can't talk. And what about his alibi? He was watching the parade with everyone else, was he not?
Perhaps he wasn't.
But I've already told you where I was, Detective. Oh, check with Mr. Caruso.
Mr. Caruso's memory is somewhat foggy. So you saw the Orange Lodge band go by the end of Cherry Lane?
Plain as the nose on my face.
Perhaps you can tell me, what instrument was Mr. Galbraith playing?
A trombone.
Are you sure?
Well, of course. He's played it for years.
Not on Jubilee Day, he didn't.
What do you mean?
The trumpeter came down with influenza. Mr. Galbraith filled in and played the trumpet, not the trombone.
I could have sworn that he was...
You never saw the parade, did you, Mr. Roach?
Of course I did. I just didn't remember that Galbraith was playing a different brass instrument.
I find that most curious, Mr. Roach.
Are you going to arrest me, Detective?
A John Doe shot through the neck was found in a railway car in Ottawa on June 26th.
A few days after Grant Abrams disappeared. This sounds promising.
The train had come from Toronto and the body was wrapped in a carpet.
That sounds like our victim.
I'm sorry I can't give you any further details. Mr. Abrams now being a skeleton in a pauper's grave, but I'll continue to look through the file.
Thank you, Julia.
That's Grant Abrams, and that's my carpet.
Thank you, Mrs. Caruso. This is most helpful.
A body and a positive identification. Now we're getting somewhere. How did Roach get the body onto a train?
Sir, I believe Roach moved Abrams' body in his cart while everyone was asleep after the day's revelries,
and dumped his body in a railway car at the Booth Street railway siding, half a block from Cherry Lane.
You're almost there, Murdoch. Almost got him.
Not quite, sir. I still don't have a motive.
William, am I interrupting?
Julia, of course not.
I've been through the John Doe file. I must say the Ottawa coroner was quite thorough. Look at these.
Oh, my.
These wounds to Abrams' arms are quite curious. The coroner posited they were defensive. Could that be possible?
Well, it's possible, but not likely. Abrams was shot from across the street.
Whatever happened, they were inflicted before he died.
Defensive wounds to both forearms.
There's also evidence of inflammation, as though Abrams had an allergic reaction to whatever injured him.
Could it be a reaction to some kind of metal? Nickel, perhaps?
I've seen a similar response, of all things, to cat scratches.
Cat?
He lived to a ripe old age. He deserves his rest.
Julia, I think I have another body for you to look at.
Well, the cat's hyoid was fractured.
Cat was throttled.
Yes.
Strangled to death? That's horrible.
The cat would have experienced the frightening sensation of air hunger and no doubt struggled violently.
Fighting for its life, the poor little thing.
Clawing at the killer's arms. Mr. Roach claimed his cat died of old age.
Mr. Roach's cat sat on his windowsill too often?
That's why Roach killed Abrams.
What do you mean?
Roach's cat annoyed Abrams. Perhaps Mr. Abrams strangled the cat, and in retaliation, Mr. Roach shot Abrams.
Would the death of a cat be sufficient motive for murder?
Yes. As a pet owner, Doctor, I'll vouch for that.
Right then, George, head down to Cherry Lane and impound Mr. Roach's cart. I'll meet you at the station house.
Sir.
Once again, thank you, Doctor.
Sir, Felix Roach's cart. It looks to see an awful lot of use, sir. I can't imagine any trace evidence from a body could still be found after all this time.
Well, let's see, George. Assuming the body was put in head first. Lift up the handles, please, George.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean. Blood from any wound would run down to the end there.
Precisely.
kind of a man kills a cat with his bare hands?
In the carriage, Mr. Roach.
I did you all a favor. Well, you'll not say it out loud, no, but you know it. I did you a favor.
She made the model by herself?
She did that. If it wasn't for Lydia, we never would have solved the murder.
If you need a hand from time to time, Bert, any help that we can offer.
Thank you, Mrs. Galbraith. Oh.
So on the afternoon that Roach killed Abrams, Lydia was sitting on the porch, plain as day. Roach must have seen her.
Oh, I think he did. But like everyone else in this neighborhood, he assumed she was oblivious.
And yet she remembered everything. Do you think she was aware she was recording a murder when she made that model?
We'll never know. I suppose she lives in a world of her own.
Such a lonely place.
Why do you say that?
Because she can't communicate her feelings.
You believe that makes her unhappy?
Well, it would make me unhappy.
I don't think Lydia views her life the way we do. I think there's a solace and certainty and order that sustains her.
And that's enough?
Sometimes it has to be.
What do you want?
What have you done to me?
I didn't do anything.
You liar! You did this to me! Let go!
Are you all right?
Bloody hell, man, what do you think you're doing?
I have to go. There's no more time.
Dear God, he's getting worse.
You ready for today?
I am indeed. This is a rare treat.
A gift from Mrs. Hart. And one deserving of the day. Frank Rhodes is finally going to trial.
Yes, and I'm the one who gets to put him away.
Not just you. There's an eyewitness.
Yes, but I'll be delivering the coup de grace. They're still warm.
William, every Monday morning you buy those scones, and every Monday morning I refuse them. You know I loathe those things.
It's her loss. Well, we will celebrate tonight.
You don't usually relish in an execution.
This time I'm willing to make an exception.
Let's continue. Politics in Canada.
Ah, Murdoch. I'm off to court in an hour. I'm just going through the final details with Mr. Bent.
Hello, Nigel Bent.
Detective?
You're worried.
No. You all right? Perhaps a bit jittery. It's not every day you have to face Frank Rhodes.
All you have to do is tell the truth about what you saw.
And that was? I saw Frank Rhodes choke the life out of Wallace Franklin, the prison guard.
And I will support your testimony. I will give an account of my associations with Frank Rhodes. I will tell of his misdeeds, his kidnapping of my wife, my daughter, and together we will ensure that...
No.
Get away. Leave me alone. What is it, Mr. Bent? Look, get away from me!
Mr. Bent, please.
Bloody hell. What just happened, Murdoch?
I have no idea. Delayed?
Just 24 hours.
They allowed Rhodes that liberty.
I requested it.
You? Why?
Because my key witness is now in the morgue. Mr. Bent's testimony was the linchpin in our case against Frank Rhodes. Now we need time to strategize now that the late Mr. Bent is no longer part of it.
You have Murdoch?
Yes, and his testimony might be enough, but I would rather do due diligence to ensure a conviction. Would you not agree?
The man threatened my wife and child. Do what you have to secure a conviction. One more day shouldn't make a difference.
Gentlemen.
Anything I say now would be speculation.
Well, then speculate.
From outward appearance, he appears to be in good health.
He's dead. So I'd say in this case, outward appearances are most certainly deceiving.
I understand that, and I will be performing a thorough examination once you gentlemen leave me in peace.
Blood tests?
I collected samples. We'll try to figure out what caused such a seizure. How was he acting before he died?
Agitated. I also believe he was experiencing hallucinations.
I see. And how long had that been going on for?
He had been acting funny.
Funny how?
He lost his balance a few times. Started saying he was seeing things.
Was your husband a drinking man?
My husband was teetotal. Believed drink to be the devil's brew.
When did these symptoms begin occurring?
Just yesterday morning. At first, he thought it was nothing.
So just recently, then?
Just over 24 hours ago. I told him to say nothing about this. And you people forced him to...
We asked him to do his duty.
And see where that got him.
We have to entertain the possibility that someone did Mr. Bent harm.
Oh, I'm already of that opinion.
Well, at least he couldn't have been Rhodes.
Sir, I wouldn't necessarily think that. We have to consider Frank Rhodes. His reach extends far beyond his prison cell.
Here you are, sir.
What have you got there?
Names and addresses of Rhodes' most recent associates. Only a couple in Toronto.
We have to consider Rhodes, sir, behind bars or not.
Bring them in.
We've only found one so far, sir. Anderson and McNabb are looking for the others.
Learning to delegate, are you, Higgins?
Just laziness, sir. Here you are, sir. Sorry, sir. Butterfingers.
Trial is delayed?
Just until tomorrow or the next day at the latest.
How did the man die?
I'm hoping Mrs. Hart can provide those answers.
What do you think?
He may have ingested a foreign substance.
Poisoning?
Perhaps.
Well, it's a good thing we still have you to put him away.
It's reassuring to know I'm not the only one interested in vengeance.
He threatened Susanna, William. That alone has exhausted my capacity for mercy.
Nigel Bent. Can't say I met the fella. Who is he?
Currently a possible murder victim.
Well, I don't know anything about that. But why would I have an issue with someone I don't even know?
Money? Revenge? Fear? Which one of those?
Well, it could be anyone, I suppose. If I knew the man.
But you do know Frank Rhodes.
Frank Rhodes? Frank Rhodes, no.
Don't act stupid. You two were arrested together years ago.
Oh, him. I haven't talked to Frank in years. Not since he went screwy.
What does that mean?
Ain't been the same since the Black Hand turned their back on him. And let me tell you, Frank's on the bad side of the Black Hand. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Dead man walking.
So you had nothing to do with Nigel Bent?
Already said as much.
Right.
You all right?
Yes, fine.
There's a good chance that Frank Rhodes could walk away from this, seeing that we've lost our eyewitness.
I'll get him. I have more than enough information on the many crimes that make up Frank Rhodes' life.
None as good as Nigel Bent's.
But enough. I'll see to it he ends up where he belongs. Julia, what are you doing here?
I called her.
Why?
You dropped a file. You almost fell to the ground in the interview room. I thought the good doctor should take a look at you.
That's ridiculous. I'm fine.
William, it will only take a moment.
I don't have a moment. I need to find all of the files on Frank Rhodes' crimes and misdemeanors.
Well, you can lead a horse to water.
Keep an eye on him. If you notice anything else, let me know. Men and doctors. Any progress?
None. No traces of any known agents so far.
So an unknown compound?
Or one that's yet to be identified. Must be lethal if the man's wife is to be believed. From first symptom to death in just over 24 hours.
So you have reason to not believe her?
Excuse me?
Well, so you think she's lying?
It was just a figure of speech. I apologize.
No, I didn't mean to be short. There's just something about this that's making me feel uneasy. William may be experiencing symptoms.
I see. Well, we should get to the bottom of it then.
Yes. How can I help?
You're not gonna get me. I'm invincible.
No, you're not. I'm going to see you hang.
You'll be well dead before that happens.
No, I won't. You're going to pay, Rhodes.
Not as much as you will.
What have you done to me? What have you...
Sir.
What is it, Higgins?
Look at the detective.
Finish Dr. Ogden.
Sir.
It's nothing.
That's what you said last time.
I saw you. You were talking to the fairies.
Your temperature is very high, and your heart rate is elevated. How long have you been feeling this way?
I'm not feeling like anything.
William, will you stop lying to me? This could be a very serious situation.
And if it is, I know the source of it.
Stand down, Murdoch.
You can try and stop me.
I have to go to the morgue. I have to find out what's happening to him.
Sir, is Detective Murdoch all right?
He's fine.
Didn't look fine to me.
If I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. Now get me a list of all Frank Rhodes' recent associates.
I already did, sir.
Well, find more. Henry, today's not the day for laziness. Murdoch just might be in real trouble here.
Watch where you're going! Did you see that? What do you think you're doing? What is happening to me?
We've almost exhausted all of the natural toxins.
So, man-made.
Good possibility. Don't worry, we will get to the bottom of this.
Well, undoubtedly. But what is in doubt is whether we find out what killed this man soon enough to help William.
Hey, look who's here. You're the one who put me in here, damn you!
We meet again.
Mr. Rhodes.
Come to say goodbye. Well, perhaps that won't happen. I heard your key witness has met with unfortunate circumstances.
You heard about that, did you?
Things like that get around. I must say, you're looking a little worse for wear. Little one keeping you up. Never a good idea to have a child at your advanced age.
Nothing.
Well, it's certainly not nothing. Something killed Mr. Bent.
Perhaps it was a stroke or brain hemorrhage.
I think it's time to get the saw.
Well, I certainly have no insight into what is troubling you. But I do hope it passes. By any chance, are you a traveling man?
What does that have to do with anything?
This modern world. People traveling hither and yon. Pick up all sorts of nasty ailments.
This is more than just a nasty ailment.
That's too bad.
What did you do to me, Rhodes?
You really must haunt your dreams.
Hardly.
What could I possibly do? I've been in here 6 months with nothing but my conscience for a companion.
Your conscience?
I do have one, you know.
If it wasn't you, it was one of your friends.
I've got no friends. Not one single visitor since I've been in here. Tell you, now that I'm facing the end, it has really made me consider some of the decisions I've made in my life.
I don't care about your decisions, Rhodes. What did you do to me?
And I told you, I've done nothing. As I said, look where I am. And this is the only place I've been for months. Perhaps what is affecting your body is also affecting your judgment.
There's nothing wrong with my judgment.
That's so. Well, perhaps it was something you you know, sometimes we try something unfamiliar and the body acts up.
You ready for today?
I am indeed. This is a rare treat.
A gift from Mrs. Hart.
I touch a nerve?
If you harmed my wife.
As I said, I have harmed nobody.
I'm going to watch you hang.
Such parting words. Nice talking to you. You don't know how much I appreciate having a visitor.
I'll see you in court.
Sure. God willing.
You don't have long, do you?
Who are you?
Must be strange for you now that the shoe is on the other foot.
What are you talking about?
You sent so many to their grave.
All deserving.
In your eyes, I'm not sure they see it that way.
But I suppose you'll find out soon enough.
Who are you?
I speak for those who want you dead.
Wait. I asked you a question.
Excuse me, sir.
You were speaking to me.
I will not. I never said a word.
I heard you.
I didn't say a thing. Please, sir, let me go.
I'm sorry.
There appears to be no damage to the cerebellum.
But his motor skills were affected.
So we can rule that out as the cause.
And there's no damage to the medial frontal cortex.
So not the reason for the delusions.
Well, it seems Mr. Bent is the owner of a perfectly healthy brain.
Well, something killed him. We just don't know what it was.
I'm sorry to say that appears to be the case.
Where are you going?
I have to find William. If we can find nothing of the agent that killed Mr. Bent, then perhaps William is my better bet. I have to examine him.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Those two there. I know at one time Rhodes was associated with the woman, Betsy Warren. She used to be his sweetheart.
Who's the big fella?
I don't know. Sir, do you need me?
Just keep beating the bushes, Higgins. Oh, and get McNabb and Anderson to check out Mr. Bent's past. There's a chance that Murdoch's barking up the wrong tree on this one.
You think that possible, sir?
Just do what you're told, Higgins. Mind if I join you?
Did we say yes?
It wouldn't matter if you did or you didn't.
What do you want?
A couple of answers about Frank Rhodes.
Don't know who you're talking about.
You were his piece of fluff once upon a time, weren't you?
And what business is that of yours?
I'm the one asking the questions.
I knew Frank for a time, yes?
And?
Let's just say I'm happy to know he's behind bars.
She's with me now.
Lucky fella.
Watch it.
Oh, what? I'll tell you what. Why don't we step outside for 5 minutes and play with the traffic? I need a private word with the lady.
It's all right, Calvin. So what do you want to know about Frank?
Do you ever visit him in jail?
Of course not. Haven't seen Frank in years. Although I am looking forward to his trial. I hope he hangs.
A woman scorned.
More like a woman who dodged a bullet. I know what happens to people who get on Frank's bad side.
So you don't do his bidding anymore?
Certainly not.
How did you meet Frank?
Years ago, he did a job for a man I worked for.
And this man, did he have a name?
Benedict Evers. He's a chemist. Ran an apothecary near Church Street. I did his books.
And what kind of job did Frank do for him?
I learned well enough never to ask Frank what he was up to. But I will tell you, when I first started working for Mr. Evers, he was a married man. And when I finished, he was a widower. And none too bothered about that.
What do you want?
What have you done to me?
I didn't do anything.
You liar! You did this to me!
What are you doing? Are you all right?
Bloody hell, man, what do you think you're doing? I have to go. There's no more time.
Dear God, he's getting worse. Are you sure you're all right?
I'm fine. He thinks I had something to do with this.
William isn't in his right mind at the moment.
What did I do?
I believe he thinks you poisoned his orange juice.
That's ridiculous.
Is it?
Don't insult me, Inspector. The detective has long suspected me of crimes I did not commit. This appears to be the latest.
Where did you purchase it?
Arthur has an exotic fruit supplier, and I acquired some. It was meant to be a gift, not a murder weapon.
I'll send a constable to retrieve what's left of the orange juice from your home.
That is ridiculous. I had nothing to do with this.
I didn't say that. It may have been tampered with without your knowledge.
Actually, it couldn't have been the orange juice. I likely drank more of it than William did. Apologies, Mrs. Hart.
I may have something.
What is it?
Rhodes was friendly with a woman who used to work for a chemist.
Does this chemist have a name?
Benedict Evers. Now, if the woman I talked to is to be believed, he hired Frank Rhodes to kill his wife.
I see. So he could be involved somehow?
I'll do my best to find this Mr. Evers.
Hello, I need you to connect me to a number.
Detective, you don't look well.
I need to talk to you.
That's why I'm here. Beat it. So, what is so important that you called me?
What can you tell me about Frank Rhodes?
I know he betrayed the Black Hand. So as far as we're concerned, he's dead to us.
He will be soon enough.
We would have been happy to have done that for you.
How many people has he killed for you?
Detective.
Has he ever used poison?
I wouldn't know. But poison? That don't seem like Frank's style, no, too clean. Wait a minute. You told me that's what's happening to you? You're this poor sap.
I didn't say that.
You don't have to, I can see it in your eyes.
If Rhodes did this, he would have needed help.
Nah, I told you, Detective. No one in our organization has anything to do with Rhodes anymore. And we have no disagreement with you.
Then please, if you know anything, who on the outside could be helping him?
You said it. You think it was poison? There was one man.
What are you doing? It's the middle of the night.
I need to talk to the owner.
He hasn't been here in weeks. I think he shut the place down.
And he's left all his worldly goods there?
Appears so. Right boy.
What did you say?
Nothing.
Get yourself down here right now.
So? What else do you want?
Where's Evers now?
How'd I know?
Well, you know when he cleared out, so it stands to reason that you know where he went.
I didn't care to be close to him.
Why not?
He became a bit of a nutter after his wife died.
What does that mean?
Just wasn't the same man. I'd see him out, carousing. Store hardly ever open.
He lost his wife.
Yeah, I suppose, but there was a cloud over him.
Oh,
You ever seen this fella around here?
Matter of fact, I have, once or twice.
Did he do business with Evers? I don't know what he did with Evers, but I did see him around. Is that one of your men? Look, I've done with you for now. What the devil are you doing here, Murdoch?
Sir, the owner of this establishment is an associate of Frank Rhodes.
That may be, but he's long gone.
Right, I have to...
You need to go home, Murdoch. That's an order. Come on, let me point you in the right direction. It's on my way.
William? William?
I just wanted some time with her. Just a few more moments. Julia, I want you to know that no matter what happens, I'll die a happy man.
Well, I have no intention of living as an unhappy woman, so you stay here.
Oh, please stay with me.
No. I'm going to do what I can to keep you alive.
You are going to grow up to be strong and brilliant, just like your mother.
Oi! That's it, boys!
You're too late. Your detective's already a dead man.
Please stop! I'll stop when I get an answer.
Doctor, perhaps you should...
I'm fine. Let the inspector do what he needs to do.
It won't be long now, William. Are you ready? No one ever is. But death waits for no one.
What did he say?
He worked at a bakery. He poisoned Murdoch's scone.
With what?
He doesn't know.
And who ordered him to do that?
Rhodes.
Dr. Ogden.
See if you can find out what this is contaminated with, and please, hurry.
I'll do my best.
You'll do better than that, Mrs. Hart. You'll find out what's in there. My husband's life lies in the balance.
What are you doing?
Hopefully persuading someone to tell the truth.
The man you're looking for is Benedict Evers, who until recently operated a pharmacy on Church Street. He's familiar with this man, who worked in a bakery on Queen Street. I also need you to find this man and find him quickly. Do whatever it takes to make this happen. Understood? Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, look what just came in. Oh, hey, gorgeous. Oh, come here. Oh, come closer, love. Come closer. Oh, gorgeous. Oh, oh, where you going, sweetheart?
Ah, the good doctor. I've been expecting your visit.
I'm sure you have.
So, now that you're here, what can I do for you?
I don't want my husband to die.
Well, then you are not like most wives I've met. But I'm not sure that I can help you with that.
Mr. Rhodes, I'm desperate.
How desperate?
I'll do whatever you want. What did you give him?
Nothing. Look at me. Look at where I am.
Please, Mr. Rhodes. I don't want him to die.
We all die, Doctor. You should know that better than most. Is it not true? Death has surrounded you most of your life?
What do you want?
Like your husband. I don't believe I'm ready for the end.
What did you give him?
Does it matter?
Of course it does.
What if I were to tell you I have the cure?
What do you want for it?
Freedom.
I can give you that.
What have you done?
You have less than half an hour. This will save you.
Oh, you wouldn't commit a murder.
To save my husband, I would do anything.
I'm not sure, sir. We're still looking.
I know.
What else can we do?
I don't know. You're a doctor. You wouldn't let me die. Isn't it some kind of oath?
I'll make an exception.
You don't have it in you.
I am a wife and a mother. And let me tell you, Mr. Rhodes, you wouldn't be the first man I killed.
I'm not sure that I believe you on that.
Mr. Rhodes, tell me, are you starting to feel constriction in your chest? You should be about now.
Guard! Guard!
There is no one here but you and me. Understand me, Mr. Rhodes. If you face a judge, there's a chance you could escape with your life. But that is not an option you have with me.
I can give you an address for the man who supplied the poison.
I'm to believe there's an antidote?
There is. I've used it before.
Give it to me.
Elmwood Arms, room 104. There you'll find Benedict Evers.
Good.
Hey! Hey! We had a deal.
Mr. Rhodes, I am true to my oath. I gave you a mild paralytic, which should be fine in a few hours.
When we're in position, wait for my signal.
You don't need to be here, Julia.
Stop me.
Are you, Williams? You have the rest of my money?
No, it's not Williams. You get over there. Young lady, get out. Go, go on.
What's this about?
Where's the antidote?
An antidote? I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't have time for this. The antidote now, or you're a dead man.
Goodbye, Susanna. You'll live in a much better world than mine. And your mother's going to raise you to be whoever you want.
It's time, William.
Can I have just one more moment?
I'm sorry. You lived a good life. Better than most.
I did.
But all things come to an end.
It's not time.
Julia.
William, it's all right. Everything's going to be all right.
Thank you, Detective Murdoch. I'm sure this was very trying.
Yeah, I'm feeling better by the hour.
You have the most resourceful wife.
What about the chemist?
He's currently facing 2 charges, although he is complaining about brutality. You put a very dangerous man away, Detective. We are all very much in your debt.
It's not my debt you're in, it's Julia's.
Frank Rhodes has issued a complaint against her.
Well, has he now? Well, I'm more than prepared.
Well, nothing will be required of you, Dr. Ogden. The matter is quite close. Frank Rhodes' execution is scheduled for today.
That was fast.
I don't believe Frank Rhodes deserves another day above the soil. Do you?
With your permission, sir, I'd like to spend the next day or 2 at home.
Of course. You both earned it. Get some rest.
Hello, Frank. It is finally time.